Mission 1. Under a false name. You are now deep inside a terrorist cell, living under an identity that has taken years to build. A cramped safe house on the edge of the city has become your home, and every conversation could expose the smallest mistake. Your concealed transmitter stays powered down unless command gives a precise communication window, leaving you isolated with only your memory, discipline, and cover story. A senior cell member silently studies your face before ordering you to ride with the team to an unknown meeting point. You gather your gear without hesitation, noticing fresh tire tracks outside despite last night's heavy rain. As the vehicle door closes behind you, a calm voice says, "He's been asking unusual questions lately." No one explains who they mean. Mission 2. Crossing the line. The convoy enters an industrial district where abandoned warehouses hide every approach, and armed lookouts watch each intersection before waving us through. I resist the urge to scan too much, forcing myself to mirror the relaxed movements of the others while quietly memorizing faces, vehicles, and escape routes. Every detail may matter later. My transmitter remains silent, leaving every decision entirely mine. Inside the compound, one guard orders me to search a delivery truck for surveillance devices before anyone unloads it. I choose a slower inspection instead of rushing, knowing one careless mistake could expose my training. Beneath the chassis, I notice fresh scrape marks and disturbed gravel, proof another vehicle left moments ago. Then a radio crackles with unexpected words. "Keep watching the new guy." Mission 3. Test of Loyalty. A steel security door slides open, leading me beneath the warehouse into a maze of concrete corridors where every entrance is monitored. One of the cell's senior operators places a sealed backpack in my hands and orders me to deliver it to a room reserved for trusted members only. Refusing is impossible, and asking questions would be worse. As I move through the narrow passage, 2 armed guards stop me without warning. One searches my clothing while the other studies my face, comparing every reaction against the story I've lived for years. I keep my breathing steady and answer exactly as my cover demands. They finally step aside. Inside the room, I quietly notice detailed surveillance photographs spread across a table. Before I can absorb them, the leader looks directly at me and says, "You're joining tomorrow's operation." Mission 4. Inside the operation. The next morning begins inside a fortified apartment hidden beneath an ordinary residential block. The cell believes I have earned their trust, but the new assignment places me between conflicting objectives. Maintain my cover, collect intelligence, and avoid actions that could compromise the operation. Every decision now affects more than my own survival. A team leader hands me a communication device and orders me to coordinate transportation for the mission ahead. The problem is the route has changed, and the new path passes through an area recently monitored by unknown observers. I cannot warn the team without revealing information I should not possess. As vehicles prepare outside, I notice unfamiliar faces watching the building from across the street. My window of control is disappearing. Then the leader approaches and asks why I look more concerned than everyone else. Mission 5. No Way Back. The operation begins inside a secured government facility where the cell plans to transfer stolen intelligence through a network I have spent months infiltrating. My role is no longer observation. I am responsible for guiding the movement while protecting information that cannot fall into the wrong hands. The communication device in my pocket vibrates with a message from command, but answering now would expose the existence of my real mission. At the same time, the cell leader changes the extraction route and places the final decision in my hands. I must choose whether to follow their plan or quietly redirect them away from a hidden surveillance zone. I move forward with the cover intact, but the choice creates a new problem. One of the guards notices the delay and starts following me through the facility. I reach the secured room first, but the evidence waiting inside changes everything. Someone inside the cell has already discovered there is a traitor among them. The mission is still moving. I steady my breathing, check the signal, and keep watching the shadows ahead. Stay with me until the truth is uncovered. Mission 6, The Hunt Within. The safe house is gone. The room where I built my cover now sits empty, stripped of every trace that connected me to the operation. I move through the city using forgotten routes, carrying only the equipment I can trust and the information I managed to protect. The cell is no longer searching for a traitor. They are hunting me specifically. Their communication patterns have changed, their checkpoints are unpredictable, and every familiar face has become a possible threat. I stop relying on speed and start relying on patience, watching before moving, listening before answering. A former contact approaches me in a crowded market and quietly warns that the leadership suspects 2 people, not 1. I have seconds to decide whether to trust him or disappear before the surveillance team closes in. I choose to follow, but I notice his hesitation. The same hesitation that once exposed others is now revealing something worse. The hunt was designed to test me. Mission 7, The Trap Closes. The abandoned transit station gives me only minutes of cover before the search teams arrive. I move through maintenance tunnels beneath the city, using the same patience that kept my identity alive for months. The difference is that now every shadow could belong to someone looking specifically for me. My contact reveals the truth. The cell has been feeding false information through their own network, trying to identify who reacts to the leaks. The operation was compromised before I even knew I was exposed. I cannot return to command, and I cannot trust the communication channels I once depended on. A damaged transmitter, limited battery power, and 1 remaining access route force a decision. I can escape alone and preserve the intelligence, or I can enter the cell's central location and confirm who inside has been controlling the deception. I choose the harder path. Moving deeper into their territory, I recognize the same pattern that exposed me before. They are not searching randomly. They are guiding me exactly where they want me to go. Mission 8, The Cover Collapses. The location I was sent to infiltrate becomes the place where everything changes. The moment I enter the compound, the power cuts out and every exit locks automatically. The cell was never waiting for a traitor to reveal himself. They were preparing a controlled environment to expose one. My communication device fails completely, removing my only connection to command. The intelligence I collected is trapped with me, and the extraction plan no longer exists. I have seconds to choose between escaping with nothing or recovering the evidence that could end the operation. I move through the dark corridors using memory instead of equipment, avoiding patrols that now know exactly what they are searching for. A wounded contact appears from a hidden room, carrying information about the person behind the deception. Helping him costs valuable time, but leaving him behind means losing the final piece of the puzzle. I choose to carry him forward. The mission is no longer about maintaining my cover. It is about surviving long enough to expose the truth. Ahead, 1 final location appears on an old map, and everything leads there. Mission 9, The Final Approach. The old underground facility appears beneath the abandoned industrial zone, exactly where the hidden map led us. I stop before entering, checking the damaged transmitter, the limited battery, and the evidence recovered from the cell. Everything I still carry is a reminder of how far the mission has moved from the plan. My contact cannot continue. His injuries force me to make the decision I avoided since the beginning. Move alone and protect the objective. I leave him with the last secure signal and enter the facility through a maintenance route that no longer exists on any current blueprint. Inside, I recognize the same security pattern that exposed me weeks ago. This time, I do not react. I wait, observe, and move only when the timing is right. The guards pass without noticing. At the center of the facility is the final archive containing proof of the operation and the identity of the person controlling the deception. The door is already unlocked. That is what worries me most. Someone expected me to arrive here. And now there is only 1 room left between me and the truth. Mission 10, The Truth Exposed. The archive room is silent when I step inside. No alarms. No resistance. Only a single monitor waiting with the evidence the cell spent months protecting. I connect the damaged transmitter and upload the files, knowing the signal will reveal my position the moment it leaves the facility. Seconds later, every door locks. The trap was designed perfectly. The remaining guards move through the corridors, cutting off every exit. I do not run immediately. I study their movement, the same way I learned to survive every stage of this mission. The power system, the maintenance routes, the damaged infrastructure around me. Everything I noticed along the way becomes a way forward. I trigger the emergency shutdown and move through the collapsing lower levels as the facility loses control. One guard catches me near the final access point, forcing a brief struggle for the transmitter. Exhaustion slows every movement, but experience controls every decision. I create distance, recover the device, and continue toward the extraction route. Outside, the wounded contact reaches the evacuation point using the signal I left behind. The mission was never completed by one person alone. As the vehicle disappears into the darkness, I look back at the facility that changed everything. The identity I created is gone. The person who entered that cell is gone too. What remains is the judgment, discipline, and responsibility earned from surviving every decision that brought me here. Aftermath, the weight remains. The extraction vehicle leaves the city behind as I sit in silence, holding the damaged transmitter that carried the mission to its end. My equipment is worn, my hands are exhausted, and every sound around me feels distant after weeks of constant awareness. Across from me, the recovered files are secured, and the people who carried this mission with me finally have a moment to breathe. I remember entering that cell with a false name and a story I had to protect. Now the story is over. I place the transmitter beside the rest of my gear and watch the horizon disappear. I made it back, but I will never return as the same person.